And welcome to War Games. My name is Sock Monkey Mike, your host with the most. You already know what the deal is. And this, my friends, is another special episode of War Games. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. You already know what the deal is. And we had a packed week of professional wrestling on our hands, whether we have AEW's Fight for the Fallen or a regular episode of NXT. I loved both shows. But I think there was a clear winner this week compared to the past couple of weeks where I said, oh, there's a clear, both are winners and stuff like that. So without further ado, before I get everything started, thank you so much to everybody that's been commenting, and subscribing and sharing the videos. I really do appreciate everybody that's been supporting. Now we're going to start our picks with NXT first. Now, I wasn't really that much impressed with NXT this week. I think that it could have gone a little bit better, but it was another regular episode of NXT compared to last week's Great American Bash Night 2. So at my number 3 pick is going to be Cameron Grimes going one-on-one against Damian Priest. Now, this was a match that I wasn't really excited for. I was really having low expectations for this match. I mean, we've seen this match 100 times before. We've seen this rivalry go on for weeks, I think months at this point. But overall, it was a pretty solid match, to say the least. I think that, Cameron Grimes was on the offense early going. I mean, there was even at some points where, Cameron was having the advantage. I mean, I don't believe, as far as I know, he has gotten a victory over Damian Priest yet. But Damian Priest comes back in the match, and he hits his finisher very uniquely after Cameron Grimes misses, and gets the victory, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to give this match maybe a 2.5 or 3 out of 4 stars on this one. It was a very fun, solid match, but I don't think there was anything mind-blowing about this match, unfortunately. I think that there could have been more to this match. Maybe this could have been their final encounter together. But overall, it wasn't as exciting as I was hoping. Both these men deserve a chance at singles titles, or at a singles titles opportunity in the future, but who knows? So once again, I could have expected more. I was a little bit disappointed, but hopefully we might see better quality matches in the future from both these individuals. At my number 2 pick is going to be the winner-take-all championship match between Keith Lee, who is the first ever North American and NXT champion, taking on, in his first title defense, against Dominik Djakovic. Now, earlier in the night, Dominik Djakovic went to congratulate Lee at the beginning of the show, and then Lee gave Dominik Djakovic the opportunity to face off against Dominik Djakovic for both titles after just 1 week of winning them. So this was very interesting, to say the least. This was great on Lee's part to be a defending champion and defending both titles, to say, instead of just one title, or you know what I mean. It's kind of initiative on Keith Lee's part. What I love in the beginning, though, was that in the beginning of the intro, everybody was gunning their shot after Keith Lee's titles. We even saw Finn Balor call Keith Lee a bitch, so that was awesome, and especially funny, at least for my eyes as well. This match did not disappoint. I think that out of all the times we've seen Keith Lee and Dominik Djakovic go at it, I think that this was a great display of athleticism. Even some cruiserweight action from both these big men. I mean, you see Dominik Djakovic, who's about 6'6", 6'7", and then you have Keith Lee, who's over 300 pounds of muscle. So, you bring those two and you put them in a match. And this, compared to all the other matches that they've had in the past, this one really took the cake. I mean, you obviously saw Dominik Djakovic do all he could with carrying Keith Lee, but in the end, Keith Lee did hit ground zero. At least I still call it ground zero, his finishing maneuver, and retain the NXT and North American championships. I'm going to give this match I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 4 stars. I think that this match, it could have main evented. I could have seen how it should have main evented, but then again, I understood why it was earlier in the card rather than in the main event. And so having these two battle it out. It was great to see both men, grind it out against each other, and it was awesome to see, to say the least. At my number 1 pick for NXT is going to be the NXT Women's Championship match between the challenger Tegan Nox, who had earned her opportunity at NXT TakeOver in Your House after winning a Fatal 4-Way, taking on the NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai, who had won the opportunity against Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley in that triple threat match. Now, this was Io Shirai's first title defense, so this is going to be something that we see either Io Shirai, prevails and we might actually see a good run from her, or Tegan Nox takes the title and see maybe a babyface run. Personally, to me, I was rooting for Tegan Nox. I'm not saying that because I'm a fan of hers, but I genuinely thought that maybe her comeback story, because that's what WWE's social media and their promo packages were really focusing on, was her comeback story after suffering a knee injury, I believe 2 years ago or a year ago to this day. But either way, I think this was a great matchup. I wasn't able to catch all of it, so I had to watch some highlights, if I'm going to be a little bit honest. But this was main eventing. This was something that I was looking forward to, and from what I saw, it was incredible. I mean, obviously, you saw Tegan Nox doing what she does best, and she's giving that heart. She's giving that passion. She even gave a chokeslam to Io Shirai, which, of course, as a huge Kane fan and a huge Molly Holly fan, I think she even gave a Molly go round at one point. It was absolutely great to see. But once again, Io Shirai proving that she is the NXT Women's Champion for a reason. She hits the moonsault. I don't remember exactly what the moonsault's called, so I do apologize beforehand. And she got the victory. She retained her title. I think this was a very great match, to say the least, because we saw two different competitors going at it. I think that this match was main eventing for a reason, because we didn't know if we were going to have a brand new champion after the first title defense of Io Shirai, or we didn't know if we were going to have a new champion in Tegan Nox, and maybe we were going to start a rivalry with Dakota Kai down the line. But what was interesting after the match was, after the victory, Io Shirai was celebrating on the ramp until one Dakota Kai kicked her very brutally, as I might say. And really gave a message to the NXT Women's Champion. Like I mentioned before, Dakota Kai was the only one out of the Fatal 4-Way participants that actually called out Io Shirai after every single match. So it made sense that the next rivalry that Io Shirai will have is against Dakota Kai. So I'm really interested in seeing how that match goes. And, Tegan Nox, once again, proving why she is one of the best women's competitors in NXT today. So I loved it. I'm going to give this match a 4 out of 4 stars. There's no doubt in my mind that they might meet for the title again in the future. Maybe we might see a triple threat. Maybe we might see just a one-on-one again in the future after Dakota Kai. So who knows? I'm excited to see where this goes. And then for my final grade for NXT this week, I wasn't really as excited as I was last week with the Great American Bash Night 2. So, there wasn't really that much highlights for me in my book. I think that the main event really killed it, but then again, not the entire show made up for it. So, other than those 3 matches, the third being just barely in the picks this week, I'm going to give this maybe a solid B this week. I'm going to give this a B grade, because it could have been better. But, NXT proves that, it could go. It could raise the bar. But I don't think this was one of the weeks. Sadly, I don't think that this was something that could have been... It could have been done better. That's all I'm trying to say, basically. So now let's get on to my top 3 picks for AEW Dynamite's Fight for the Fallen. Now, this was another themed episode of AEW Dynamite. This was supposed to be the night that Jon Moxley finally returns and defends his AEW title. So I'm really interested in seeing how this goes as well. At my number 3 pick is going to be the AEW Championship match between Brian Cage, the FTW champion, versus Jon Moxley, the AEW World Champion. Now, this was supposed to happen last week on AEW Dynamite for Fyter Fest Night number 2, but sadly, due to concerns over Jon Moxley's health condition and he wanted to keep safe for all the people at AEW and all the crew members. I totally understand that. That's so good guy Moxley, as they say, but this was exciting. I was very excited. Once again, I did miss the main event, so this is all coming from highlights. We even saw from the beginning of the match, Jon Moxley proving why he is AEW World Champion. I mean, he took it to Brian Cage, but Brian Cage, I mean, I'm advocating this too. He should have won the AEW World Title, I think, in my mind. I think he's a great advocate for it. I think that the build that he has and the athleticism, the skill set that Brian Cage possesses is absolutely amazing. Not really much on the promo aspect. That's why we have Taz. But honestly, it was cool to see. I mean, we even saw at one point that Brian Cage did hit Jon Moxley with the suplex onto, I believe it was a guardrail. I could not tell, but that's what it looked like. Brian Cage was strong from, start to finish. However, in the end, Jon Moxley, I believe it was an arm bar, I could be wrong, that made Taz throw in the towel and have Brian Cage lose. Jon Moxley retains. I'm going to give this match, based on the highlights, I wish I could have seen it all. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 4 stars. I think this was a very solid main event for AEW Dynamite, especially with its world title. I was hoping that we would have a new champion, especially with Jon Moxley being absent and all that, because personally, I think that a great champion always shows up to the show. So, I liked the match. I didn't think it was great, but I also didn't think it sucked. So at the same time, I think that both men absolutely killed it. I think that Brian Cage really is the Taz of AEW, which is a lethal suplex machine, or just a machine in general, wrestling machine, and he's the machine for a reason, Mr. GSMI himself. So I'm excited to see where this goes from there, what they do with Jon Moxley. Actually, before I go into everything else, Darby Allin did come back and return because Brian Cage did attack Moxley after the match. Upset because he did deserve to become champion, and I agree with him. But Darby Allin did return and attack Brian Cage. So I'm really interested in seeing where Darby Allin fits into the AEW World Title picture. Maybe he's the next challenger. Who knows? But then again, we've seen a lot of Tully Blanchard cameos from the crowd. So maybe Shawn Spears might go after the AEW title or the TNT title, which I'll get to in a minute. Either way, I think it was a solid match. Great to see Darby Allin back. And yeah, at my number 2 pick is the TNT Championship match between Cody Rhodes defending his TNT Championship against Sonny Kiss. Now, Sonny Kiss is a very, very, very underrated wrestler in my opinion, especially in the AEW men's division. I think that he has a very outgoing character. I think that he's very underrated due to for his wrestling abilities, and he's a very outgoing character. I think that what he has, Sonny Kiss, is so great, and especially for communities outside of professional wrestling, is absolutely awesome. I mean, we even saw in the beginning this great coordination with Sonny Kiss and I believe it was the cheerleaders of one of the Florida teams. And it was cool. It was cool to say the least. Sonny Kiss gave it his all in this match. I think that out of all the TNT Championship matches, I think this one was the closest, besides maybe Jungle Boy Jack Perry, that we could have seen a new champion. I mean, we obviously saw Sonny Kiss giving the offense, really proving how he is championship material. However, in the end, Cody Rhodes, once again proving why he is TNT champion, hits the crossroads. 1, 2, 3, and Cody Rhodes gets the victory and retains the TNT Championship. Once again, we saw a lot of cameos from Tully Blanchard in the crowd, so maybe Shawn Spears is the next challenger for the TNT Championship. Hopefully that is the case. We don't know. I hear there's another open challenge next week for AEW Dynamite, so hopefully we know who's going to be the next one up. I mean, we've obviously seen teases of Warhorse, who's not a part of the AEW roster, that's going to be challenging Cody for the TNT Championship. We already seen Ricky Starks, who came from NWA to AEW. So who knows? I'm very excited to see this, but with this match, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 4 stars. I think that this really showcased both men in great ways. Cody defending that TNT Championship the right way, giving it more value each and every week. Same thing goes with Sonny Kiss. I mean, we really haven't seen him other than AEW Dark and, along with Joey Janela in a tag team. But either way, I think this was a great way to showcase him as a singles competitor, and it was a great match. I think he deserves more opportunities in the future. So at my number 1 pick is going to be the tag team match between Cash and Dax versus the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix. I think that both these tag teams are the best tag teams in AEW and also in the world today. These are very great competitors on both. Like, all 4 of those guys are absolutely great competitors, very successful too. So from the start of this match, it was absolute chaos. We saw both teams going at it. They did participate in an 8-man tag team match last week. where Rey Fenix, Pentagon Jr. was a part of the win for their team, along with the Butcher and the Blade, who were all the way down on the other side of the arena with their truck. And it was absolute chaos. And that's what I love about tag team wrestling, especially with AEW's tag team division. I mean, I think they focus more on the tag teams and the art of tag team wrestling more than anybody else. They were going at it. There was chaos going out everywhere. I think there was at one point where Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr. were going absolute ham on the FTR. But in the end, FTR, after Dax, I believe, was the one that pulled off Rey Fenix's mask and gets the pinfall victory, which was very smart. I loved that type of tag team wrestling where they used a little bit of an advantage. 1, 2, 3 gets the victory and the match is over. I'm going to give this match a solid 4 out of 4 stars. I think that I love tag team wrestling, and I love the fact how, they established that old school tag team wrestling, like how the Enforcers did back in the day, or something like, oh my goodness, like the Rockers and the Midnight Express did way back in the 80s and 70s. So I loved it. I absolutely chef's kiss on that one. I'm going to give this episode of AEW Dynamite's The Fight for the Fallen, I'm going to give it an A. I think they deserve it. I think that what they did from top to bottom was absolutely amazing. I mean, there was even at one point, I forgot to do my honorable mention really quick, where Chris Jericho was even dumped with orange juice, get that, and a little bit of oranges, thanks to Orange Cassidy, which you can see right here. Absolutely amazing. Great night of professional wrestling. And of course, who I think won this week was AEW Dynamite with their show, Fight for the Fallen. Do I think it was better than Fight for the Fallen last year? Not necessarily. I think that there could have been better outcomes. I think we could have had a new AEW World Champion. We could have had a new AEW TNT Champion. But either way, that didn't happen. But absolutely great. I think that it was absolutely a great show. So with this said, like I mentioned before, AEW Dynamite wins this week, and I want to thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. You already know what to do. You're already doing that right now, and I appreciate you guys. And that is it for me. And until we meet again, I will see you guys in the next video.